Hey, friends and colleagues. I told you that we were working on some more content, and I have shot this one a few times at this point, and I just feel like I need to be more succinct, so I'm doing it again. Um, One of the most popular videos that I published last year was a rundown of the ILEA build conference that we did with Four Wall, and kind of went through the whole thing, went through all the photos that some of the on-site photographers, videographers, myself, other Four Wall team members took, and I kind of created an album and we went through it, and it was really interesting. That has been one of the most popular clips by a lot. So I thought I would do something similar. I know that a lot of people are very interested in FIFA and the World Cup in general from this past year, being in the US and North America, really. I mean, Canada, US, and Mexico. But that'd be cool to just run through some pictures, talk about some things, some stuff that we did. I wasn't necessarily a part of everything that we did for Boston Stadium, but we did get to take some pictures around the stadium of things that we were a part of. So with that, I figured I'll just take a look at some pictures. We'll go around. I'll talk about them a little bit. It was just really cool to walk around Boston Stadium and see Four Wall cases. There was an area that we were working with a customer that was basically building a bunch of press areas. So we were building a lot of truss structures with lighting. There were a lot of TV areas, player entry areas, things that needed to be lit for television. So this was one of the walkways in where the buses would drop people off. They'd walk through here and you'd kind of see things lit up. There's also lighting all the way to the field, really. We had to set arches up and stuff everywhere. Everything had to be lit for TV. So it was really kind of cool. They did still keep turf and they really only put grass on the playing part of the field, which was interesting. But you can see this was our load-in day for our stage that we built over here. Actually, this might have been the second load-in day because I can see our tent is already built. But yeah, this whole concourse right here is where our activation was, right under the new scoreboard. Let's see. Got lots of pictures and stuff. So you can see here the truss arch going up. Here's RJ watching the crew. We put a bunch of sky panels up here just for when players entered, get them lit. So this is our activation that we had, this stage of sorts that was made for entertainment. It was the in-house hosts. There were bands that played. There were the drumline, the cheerleaders dance. There were a lot of different activations as the time went on, but it was up to us to figure out what we could put there, how to keep it safe from the elements because it was going to be set up for over a month and so on. But here you can see our local 11 hands working with our designer, Matt Arabino, on the show. One of the things that Matt is a stickler for is consistency, and he did a great job of making sure that all of the truss was lined up perfectly, that everything was symmetrical, that everything was consistent across the 6 towers that we built. He did a great job at that. More shots of the field. Here are some of our local 11 hands helping build the set. There's Matt talking. A little bit of a walkthrough of our area. So we actually stole a lot more of this area as the games and the matches went on. Right now, there's just bike rack really around the stage. And there was this rack around the stage itself that the staging company brought that we ended up getting rid of. We didn't use it, but the bike rack did end up coming out a significant amount around the stage so that we had room for cameras and other things going on. The problem ended up being delay. You know, the delay was kind of rough on the dancers and things like that. So a lot of the singers, we had to give all the singers in-ears, but we did end up using stage monitors for the dancers and for cheerleaders and things like that, just because the delay was kind of getting crazy for them. So we gave them something that blew out the rest of the stadium audio. It took us 2 days to set up, mainly because of security. We had to get out of there while they did some stuff. But, you know, the idea of making sure that everything was going to be safe for all of the attendees that were coming was definitely the most important. But also as setup for this was dragged out, you know, power, ended up being something that we had to get turned on a little bit later than expected. Not a giant deal, but this is what it looked like when we were done setting up on the second day of setup. So what we had here were some color strikes that did some nice, audience abuse type light, point source type light. We had these Proteus hybrids, mainly because they're IP rated. They're outdoor fixtures. They could get rained on for a month and not have a problem, and none of them did. They were great fixtures for this, and they were bright enough for everything that we needed to do. I mean, in the daylight here, a little bit of shade. Sun was this is probably like 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon at this point, and you can see the beams on the stage. I mean, they're bright fixtures. And then we used the Epix lights here for kind of truss runners going up and down them to create some more point source candy type looks. That's about it. And then we had some Meyer UPJs, I think, on the stage for audience. We were going to use them as fills, but the house was loud enough. We didn't need them. So we folded them all back to act as stage monitors. For musical acts, we used them. We had 2 in-ear monitor system, PSM 1000s, for whenever a musical act came up or whatever. But the hosts, which you'll see in some of the few pictures, they just use the house PA, which is what these antennas backstage covered by trash bags are from. That's just so that they could capture them at the booth. So yeah, here's Luca going up and just making sure everything's tight, everything looks good, wired up right. Matt doing all of his programming. Matt did a great job on this. He came up with so many looks and pixel map looks and lots of different things. So here we are. We're starting to turn on the strikes. We got the Epixes on. Looks like we're having a power issue with this one. I do remember this string was a bit of a problem. We have to keep figuring it out, but they're getting there. There's more Luca. Here's the color strike up close. Interesting unit, man. And we could do some really fun stuff with this. There were strobes that had individual little clusters inside, and then these LEDs had little clusters. So we did some pretty cool stuff with those. Here you can see Matt programming the Epixes on the hog. You can kind of see that he's running a chase effect through them right now. And I think I'm just getting B-roll with this particular clip, which is probably why I'm lingering on it so long. But it came out. This was the first rehearsal with the cheerleaders. We only had one night game. The rest of our matches were during the evening, so it was still pretty bright out, and the house lights are bright enough for everything. But that one first game kickoff wasn't until 9 p.m. We needed a little bit more in the front for the cheerleaders, for the cameras and stuff like that. So we ended up throwing some C-stands up just to get them lit. But you can see how wonderful these colors came out on the Epixes. We got lots more of that. This looks like it might be well, it's still map programming. Locking in his looks. We'll keep on scrolling. The cheerleaders are going to do their little dance. Doesn't look like any of these are videos, so I can't even have fun with you. Yeah, they were great. We did a few with the cheerleaders, a few sessions with them. Yeah, but none of these are videos. Keep on scrolling, keep on scrolling. And then this looks like the next day, match day. You can see, basically every night we would cover up the VRXs with some bags. They were the only thing really not IP rated. We'd lower the tent down to its lowest level, throw some sandbags in the top of the tent to hold it down. We had sandbags around the legs, but we never moved front of house or, monitor world, whatever you want to call it in this scenario. And we were fine. Everything worked great. We'd cover up the consoles. We'd bag them if we had to, but we'd cover them up, put them in their cases, and that was about it. It was pretty simple. We're doing one more rehearsal before the match. Let's see. Yeah, here's Audio World. It was just a TF1, 2 wireless microphones. We had 4 wired microphones that you can't really see over there. And then we added the 2 in-ear monitors a little bit later, so they're not here right now. Here's what they look like lit up, man. They looked amazing, especially as it got shadier in our area, and if the sun started to go down a little bit, and we were able to play with intensity a little bit more. It was amazing. So these are some fun shots of the space. So like here the color strikes are doing their different patterns. You know, they came out amazing. The strobes were great. It was a nice effect whenever we did stuff. Yeah, so they have movement and they have color, and the e-pixes had a lot of color and chases going on through them. Matt was actually pixel mapping, like I said earlier, so he got a lot of video files that he'd throw in and just map them across all the pixels. It was great. Here we are from the front. This is just a great shot of everything. And we literally, this was the set. We just managed this for 7 matches, I think, 8 matches. It was incredible experience. And every day was something different. You know, here we've got the cheerleaders doing their thing. We got Patriots colors up here. They would play to track, so we would just take a track from the house feed that they sent us, and we would just feed that through their speakers, their monitors. But you can see, like, you know, Matt's busking with the lights to them. Kara, our A1 for this event. Harry was our A1 that helped set and strike, and he did the last match. But Kara was here for this one, and not much to do. Just roll fader on playback. That was about it. When we get into actual match time, took some pictures of that. The next day, we had the Celtics cheerleaders, so we did a lot of green for them coming up. A lot smaller group than the Patriots cheerleaders, but still a lot of fun. You know, same idea. We just left this set the whole time. We'd cover up things that weren't IP rated, but that was about it. Kept the design. You know, Matt would go through and kind of tweak it for who the teams were. It's kind of cool to see our stuff on the scoreboard. Here's the crew. There's me, Kara, and Matt. Matt and I were there for every match. Kara was there for every match except the last one. I'm sure I'll have a picture of Harry somewhere, but you know, we had a good time. We had a lot of fun working on this show. We got to meet a lot of interesting people, fans and production people. I made production friends. I met new people I had never met before that were great. They were consummate professionals. So we're finally getting into some of the, you know, what we were actually doing. These are our hosts, and they would come out and they would talk to the entire arena. They were kind of the arena entertainment, keep people informed of what was going on, you know, play games, things like that. It was a lot of fun. They were amazing too. They were great. And then we had during the France-Norway match, we had a Norwegian country singer who did an amazing job here. This was him. Color strikes weren't doing that effect. I think that's just the refresh rate on my phone while we were recording. And then we had a French singer as well. They did great. You know, they had in-ear monitors and they played to the crowd in the bowl. They did in the stadium. They weren't playing to TV or anything like that. At least I don't think. A couple selfies because you got to do that for the gram. A little bit more map programming. Kara watching the game. She was a big soccer fan, so she was really getting into some of these games. The drum line again for the next match. So a lot of this is more of the same. There really isn't too much to show off. I had a cool visitor, Aly Raisman, U.S. Olympian gymnast. They had her say a few things from our stage, so she came over and watched the game with us. It was kind of cool. She was fun. More of us just chilling out and having fun during all these matches. I've lost track of what match we're on. I think this is probably 3 or 4. But here we go. You know, we got the hosts interacting with the mascots here. The hosts would bring up fans and they would have them play games. They would do lots of fun stuff with those guys. So it was always really cool. More cheerleaders because you can't have enough cheerleaders. We did end up taking one of the VRXs off of the top of the stack on each side because we weren't even using the VRXs. So it made cleanup at the end of the night a little easier. It made the bags fit a little bit easier, but you know, that's all. It was really the only adjustment we made throughout the week. You know, this is really what most of the matches looked like. On camera, it looked really good because the camera picked up the lighting so well. But the idea was to have everything going on in the stadium and on the field behind them still kind of in the shot. But an amazing show. It was an amazing thing to be a part of. There's Kat. She was great from the craft group over there. Just an amazing experience. I think we're getting near the end. Yeah, Mbappe. So we're near the end now. But unbelievable experience. I mean, I jumped at the opportunity to work on this. It was the last show that I did for Four Wall. The timing worked out perfectly, so I just said, I'll make this be my last project since it spanned about a month and a half. Look at these fans, man. I mean, everybody was just really, even the teams that didn't win, they were really into it. Everybody was having a good time. It was a big party. Here's our hosts again. And like, they would do drop-ins every time. It was amazing. They had a great time. Here we are. I finally got a selfie with them on the last show. And then strike. And literally the next day after the match, they were ripping up the grass. That was unbelievable to me that they were just like, let's get it done. But yeah, and there's Harry. This was the strike. We got everything down pretty quick and out of there. This was literally my last day at Four Wall. I came through with our intern Quiche to show him what it was like in there and all the different things that we were doing. But, you know, this was a great experience for me. It wasn't much, you know, like you look at these pictures and you go, it's a couple lighting trees with some stuff and, you know, a really small PA. A lot of this was putting together something that could survive a month of wind and rain and lightning storms and everything that, if you've ever been to a Patriots game or a concert, you know, AC/DC, Taylor Swift things, Metallica at that stadium are not fun to get in and out of. FIFA was worse. But all in all, it was worth it. I had a really good time working on this show. I met so many great people that I had never met before. I got to work with Matt and Kara a lot closely I never really, you work on one show with some of these, leads, and then that's it. Like, you don't get to kind of focus or make things better over weeks, let alone days. So it was a lot of fun to work with that crew and get, real intimate in what we could do with this particular show and how creative we could get and get to know everybody a little bit and what they like. And it was amazing. We had a really good time, and I'm very thankful that we had the opportunity to do this. I'm very thankful that, Four Wall was able to win this bid, and, glad I got to go out with a bang at Four Wall. So, that's about it for this. It was a lot of fun, and I posted a lot of pictures, and we talked a lot about the challenges just to do 6 trees with some movers and some flash and trash and a couple of speakers. But, at any given moment, if you're in sports, you never know what's going to happen. You don't know what they're going to drop on you, and you got to be ready for 60,000 fans to be able to hear and see what's going on. So, as well as TV. Absolutely amazing show. All the games were amazing. Boston was an incredible market for this. Just a great experience. And what we did was nothing compared to the overall experience of, this event, this show, everything that happened. We were one, extremely small part of it, but we got to be part of the experience, and that is huge for me. So thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this. I look forward to sharing more content like this with you in the future. I'll pick a couple other events that were a lot of fun, and we'll deep dive. Thanks.